living to serve other people. We lack this mindset. That's why we have corruption. Corruption leads to poverty. Poverty leads to insecurity. And becomes a vicious cycle. So we need to identify what is the leading problem. What is the first domino effect of all these problems? And we also have to begin from the leadership recruitment process, because we cannot isolate political leadership in all these problems we are talking about and in responsibility to fixing them. That is why, as long as there is monetary attraction to political position, we will continue to have weak governance and bad leadership. Because people, they want to get to political position not because they want to serve, but because they want to get the money. Even the late comedian Ibro, when he was afflicted with poverty, he told his wife he want to contest election because he's poor. So if you want to become richer, the only thing that you start thinking of is how do I contest the election? Why? Because that's where you get the money. People that have money, they will not think of investing that money. They will save their money and wait for the election period to come just for them to spend to win an election. As long as there is money in political positions, there will never be good governance. That's the way we want it. We also need to change our mindset, how we look at leaders. A lot of people think the most successful person in your area or in your state is the one with the highest political position. The highest level of success is political position. If people want to reward you, they say, hey, please come out for election. We will vote for you. And if people want to punish you, they say, we will not vote for him. The best way to reward me is say, I should come out and contest an election because that you think that's the biggest favor you give to me. That's the wrong way of thinking. But I could see the reasoning only if it is attracted to serve. But even if you are coming to serve, you'll be blocked by people who are there for the money. And they have the money, and they will make sure they use that money to stop you from getting there. So we have to change our mindset, how we look at elections. And politics is expensive. Even the competent ones, they can't afford to contest an election. They will say, okay, you are not too young to run, but you are too poor to run. So make it easy and cheaper and within the stretch to contest election. And I always believe that if we have to have development, we have to bring resources and power closer to people. Because when you are leading complex and large society or company or setting, the efficiency of that management will be less. But when you are managing a micro, small setting, it becomes easier. That's why I say states that have their oil, let them keep their oil. If you have gold, keep your gold. Any natural resource you have in your state, keep it. You are responsible for developing all the natural resources, natural deposit in your state. But you take responsibility for everything that happens in your state. Education, security, healthcare, all these development, do you do it? To whom much is given, much is expected. Give the state the powers. Allow them to extract the mineral resources. If you have oil, keep your oil. We don't want your oil money. In northern Nigeria, we have agriculture. We have all these solid minerals I mentioned. Because it becomes easy for northern governors to sit back and point the fingers of blame at the federal government and say, it's the federal government. And complexity of Nigeria is too much that federal government cannot fix all our problems, because most of our problems are peculiar to state and even region. So we must devolve power to states and allow resources closer to people. That's when reach becomes spread. And we have to also consider what I call population management. We must grow according to the size of our resources. If responsibility and liability is greater than your finances, you cannot grow. You become stretched. So at micro level, the country has to grow based on its resources. At micro level, in your family, in your house, you must grow according to the size of your resources. You have 10,000 naira in a month, and you're giving birth to 10, 20 children. You are not growing according to the size of your income. So family size must grow according to the size of resources. So that because family have to take care of the family, the children first, before the government do their part. Because population is not an automatic resource. It's just a potential resource. You have to harness it. One of my friends said, oh, what about China? China, they have population. And I said, China didn't become what they are just by adding population. They added valuable population. You are not going to add a population that is a liability and expect the economy to grow. But when you are adding skillful population, that is when the economy will grow as a result of such addition. So the question is, what kind of population are we adding? Are we preparing the population to become valuable to the economy? Look at the issue of the children begging on the streets. This is not acceptable. If we have to develop in northern Nigeria, we must stop this madness. Because there is no way you can give birth to a child of 4 years old and you throw him on the street and say, go and beg for money, for food. This is inhuman. Instead of sending your child to beg on the street, you come out and beg on the street. Parents should come out on the street and beg for food and then take the food to their children at home. But children must be kept at home. Because when you send children on the street begging for food, because of the stress, the exposure, the hazards, they will not even have the mental stability and growth to even absorb or grasp the knowledge. Because first in the morning they hunt for breakfast. Afternoon they hunt for lunch. Even in the lunch they hunt for, they become like birds. They become like animals. And these are the future that we are talking about. And this is not Islamic to send children under the age of 10 asking them to go and beg for food. You have to provide for them. There is no any city in northern Nigeria that does not have school where these children can be put in where they are and learn there. I was studying Bangladesh and I saw they had similar stories like ours, like the northern Nigeria. But what they've done was they built agro-processing industry, agric. They process and add value to whatever they produce from the agricultural sector. They also invested so much in manufacturing sector. They also invested in education. That's why I appreciate the Kano State for making education #1 priority. Because with education, we can develop. They also invested in small and medium enterprises, especially for women. Because half of our population are women, and if women are left behind, then you are retarding half of your population. They are becoming dependent. They also invested in population management. They manage and control their population growth. They also invested in dialogue to ensure peace and security. Through dialogue and discussions, justice and equitable development. I've looked at Singapore. I looked at Rwanda. I looked at Morocco, Dubai. All these stories, they are stories of possibilities. If you look at where they came from, it was from a position of impossibility. But sometimes someone, a leader, came up from one of these countries and said, it is possible. And they made it. And all these countries, they came from different regions around the world. And there is no any limitation to say because we are Africa or because we are Nigeria, we cannot develop. So there is no excuse. If they have done it, we can do it. Look at what happened in Rwanda. I was in Rwanda last month. And I asked one of them, I say, what if you become the president of Rwanda? Will you like it? He said, no, we don't want. No, any